All right. Hold on. Where is my... here we go. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivarat Hari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivarat Hari. Yashodanandana Gopi Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Gopi Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivarat Hari. Yashodanandan Gopi Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivarat Hari. Jasodanandana Gopi Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa, Paribrajacharya Stotra Satya Sisimat. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Nama Acharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath, Syama Kunda Radha Kandagiri Govardhana Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai, Yamuna Devi Ki Jai, Ganga Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande. All glories to the devotees of Cologne. All glories to the devotees of Cologne. And where is Jairam living? Grenada. All glories to the devotees of Grenada. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanang pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I now Trinadapi Sunichena Todariva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Nama Vikivalam Klau Nastyeva 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 Gatiranyata. I would like everyone to please turn on their video so I can see you. Because when I see a blank screen and a name, I don't get inspired. But when I see your actual mukha, your face, then I get inspired. So please don't hide yourself. Let me see your lotus-like face. Let us begin. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're finishing up chapter 2. This final section is called Symptoms of Transcendence. Let us review what we have learned so far, because it is by repetition that we learn Bhagavad Gita. You have to repeat it over and over again, and then it gets stored in your mind, in your heart. Chapter 1, the scene was set. Arjuna asked Krishna to drive his chariot to see who has come on this first day of battle. And Arjuna became overwhelmed with compassion, doubts, fear, confusion. And in chapter 1, he gave so many arguments why he did not want to fight the war. Moral, religious, and social arguments. In chapter 2, Krishna speaks by saying first that Arjuna, your behavior is unbecoming of you, for you are an illustrious warrior, and you are acting very contrary to your situation, your history, your name and fame. This is not becoming of you. Arjuna continues to give objections, but then Arjuna, the turning point, Shishyaste ham shadi mang twang prapanam, where Arjuna says, Krishna, I'm confused, and now I'm turning to you. Please instruct me. Act as my guru. I am your shishya. I am your disciple. You instruct me because I'm confused. And of course, Krishna immediately assumes the role, his natural role, as spiritual master of all living entities. Why is he spiritual master of all living entities? He's in everyone's heart. Later on, when we get to chapter 18, someday, if we stick to the program, we will hear that Krishna is driving everyone's machine, yantra, the body. So Krishna is in the heart, and he is directing the wanderings of all the living entities. And Krishna's natural position is to instruct us. So then we learned in chapter 2, Sankhya, the difference between the body and the soul, the difference between matter and spirit, the difference between what is eternal and what is temporary. That was 20 verses. Then Krishna gave reasons why Arjuna should fight from merely this point of view that Arjuna, you are in a win-win situation. If you win the battle, you will rule the entire world, because that's what this battle of Kurukshetra was all about. The kings of the Kuru dynasty were the rulers of the planet. So whoever won this war would be emperor of the world. And Krishna said, and if you die in the battle, you're going to the heavenly planets to live for hundreds and hundreds of years like a demigod, enjoying nicely. Win-win. Then, yes, last week, we heard about Buddhi Yoga, how we can connect with the Supreme by means of the intelligence. And we also learned last week that there are 10 senses, 5 knowledge-acquiring senses: ears, eyes, nose, tongue, and skin. And 5 working senses: hands, legs, throat, genital, and anus. And then there's the 11th sense, the mind, situated in the core of the heart. The mind is one of the 3 features of the subtle material body. One unit covering the spirit soul, material, but understood by its different functions. The mind accepts and rejects. The next feature, intelligence, discerning, discriminating, taking this business of the mind, accepting and rejecting, and considering. And then the last feature of the subtle body, ego. How do I identify myself? In the material world, everyone identifies basically with their body and such. I am a Panamanian, I am Americano, I am Hindu, I am Jew, I am Muslim. I am father, I am mother. Everyone is identifying with this body or the mind because it's material, and therefore we are in illusion. And this is called false ego, because there is real ego. Real ego was explained in chapter 2. You are spirit soul. You are eternal. You do not die. The real you. The one you don't see in the mirror. That's not the real you, what you see in the mirror. But that's what we identify with. That's false ego. And we will learn in chapter 15, where Krishna says, Mamai Vangsho Jiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. You are my part and parcel. My favorite example, here's Manish, and I think this is your eldest son. Yes? So he is your Angsha. He is your part and parcel. You're individuals, you're unique, you're different, but there is a connection. You are his father. So he is your part and parcel. So Krishna claims all of us as his children, angsha, as his parts and parcels. That is real ego. When I see myself as Krishna's child, Krishna's part and parcel. When I forget that, then it's false ego. But when I identify as Krishna's part and parcel, that is pure ego. There has to be ego. Don't worry, the Buddhists say you have to kill the ego. And that's the Buddhist philosophy, which is nonsense. We follow Krishna's philosophy. Ego is there. There's nothing wrong with ego, provided it is real ego. I am part and parcel, eternal servant of Krishna. False ego, that is condemned. When I see myself as something other than Krishna's servant. So Buddhi Yoga means to link to God, link with the Supreme by means of the intelligence. So now this final section of chapter 2, symptoms of transcendence. What is transcendence? Transcendence means that which is beyond the range of the material senses. Our senses are limited. We do not have unlimited senses. For instance, dogs can hear frequencies which we cannot hear because their sense of hearing is different than ours. Dogs hear different frequencies. Our senses are very limited. We have material, limited senses. So we are conditioned. So everything in this material world is conditioned by what? We will learn in chapter 14. 3 modes of nature. And we will learn in chapters 14, 17, and 18. Krishna analyzes the whole cosmic manifestation in terms of these 3 modes, or combination of the modes. Goodness, passion, and ignorance mixes. 3 times 3 is 9, 9 times 9, 81. So you get 8,400,000 different species of life or different kinds of bodies. So transcendence means what's beyond this material world. The gross material scientists say no. All we know is this cosmic manifestation. But our Bhagavad Gita, our Vedas tell us no. There is a world beyond this material manifestation. Vaikuntha, the spiritual world, the world of transcendence. And you can experience transcendence even as a human being. So Arjuna is now going to ask Krishna, what are the symptoms? So the first statement, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is merged in transcendence? How does one speak? And what is one's language? How does one sit? And how does one walk? The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, replied, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and when the mind, thus purified, finds satisfaction in the self alone, then one is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. The self, we learned in chapter 2, spirit soul, Atma, eternal. So when you find satisfaction just in being spirit soul, you have reached transcendence. Next verse. One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is freed from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. In the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil one may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. One who is able to withdraw the senses from the sense objects, as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. So this relates to the 5 knowledge-acquiring senses. The eyes want to see colors, beautiful forms. The ears want to hear beautiful sounds. The hands want to touch nice things. The mouth wants to taste delicious food. And the nose wants to smell beautiful aromas. So these are the senses and the sense objects. They're intimately connected. But the tortoise, when it wants, the tortoise retracts its limbs within the shell. So a transcendentalist will engage the senses only when there is a spiritual or transcendental purpose. Otherwise, he does not engage. Like the tortoise, he retracts. But if there's an opportunity for spiritual activity, then the transcendentals will engage those senses. For instance, I'm using my eyes and my ears right now to do this program. And also my mind is fully concentrating on today's class. So my senses are engaged, linked with transcendence. You also are hearing and you are watching, right? So your senses are also connected. And you're not engaging it elsewhere. The embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, though the taste for sense objects remains. But ceasing such engagements, by experiencing a higher taste, one is fixed in consciousness. This is a very important principle in understanding spiritual life. Because most people, when you start talking about transcendence and spiritual life, they become bored. Let me watch TV. Let me watch the football game. Because they don't have an experience of a higher taste. But once you get a taste for spiritual life, material life becomes disinterested. This I know from personal experience. For the first 23 years of my life, I ate meat. I was a big meat eater. But then I got my first taste of Krishna Prasad. And when I got Krishna Prasad by visiting the temple in Brooklyn, it was just a little bit of spinach. And I hate spinach. I never ate spinach when my mother cooked it. But this green spinach, as soon as I licked it, I jumped up. Give me more! Give me more! I had never tasted anything like this Mahaprasad from the temple. Prasadam was one of the main reasons why I changed. And I stopped eating meat because I would come to the temple as much as possible, take prasad. Why do I do these programs for the past 25 years? Why did I come so many years to Cologne and Panama? Why? For prasad. Because I got a higher taste. Nothing compares to prasad. Over the years, people would ask me, you used to eat meat. Don't you miss it? Don't you want sometimes? I say, no. I have much better food than meat because I have a higher taste. You know, I love music. I've been playing guitar since I was 13. But I'm not going to play that silly old music. I'm going to play music describing Krishna. All my songs that I sing is about Krishna. I'm not going to sing the blues and sing about Bobby Sue and no. I'm going to sing about Krishna because I have a higher taste. I used to perform in bars and nightclubs as a musician. I'll never go back to that. Why? I'd rather do Zoom programs, preaching Bhagavad. I am also performing. I'm still entertaining. But I'm doing it for Krishna. I have a higher taste. So that is the secret to remain on the path of transcendence. You have to get the higher taste. The senses are so strong and impetuous, Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind, even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. So, when the senses are not actively engaged in serving God, then there's that ability, that possibility of being attracted somewhere else. So the key to success, always be engaged in spiritual activities. We have an expression, the idle mind is the devil's workshop. So the transcendentalist is always progressively, actively utilizing the senses to serve Krishna or God. Otherwise, if you let slack, then Maya will come in and say, come, let's do something else. But if you're always engaged in activities, just like what did I do today? I'll tell you what I did today. Today, as I've been doing for the past so many weeks, I'm recording the Ramayana. I got a copy of a summary of the Valmiki Ramayana. So every day I spend a few hours narrating it and recording it. It's on my website. You will see many things on my website, nirantara.com. I used to have the Mahabharata, but now I have the whole Krishna book is there on my website. And now, little by little, Ramayana is there. So, I'm always utilizing my senses to serve Krishna. Otherwise, Maya will come and just pull you like this. One who restrains the senses, keeping them under full control, and fixes one's consciousness upon me, is known as a man of steady intelligence. So this is the key, fixing the consciousness on Krishna. A few days ago, I think it was yesterday, my good longtime friend Manish, we had a nice little exchange. He wanted some clarification on a Bhagavad Gita verse. And in answering him, I explained to him that the key is the following two lines. Bhajahure manna Srinandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare. And by the way, Shrilesh, Manish wants me to do a special class one day on that song. So you two are going to work it out. It's a 1-hour class on that song. I'm famous for it. I'm so famous for it, even Jayapataka Swami said, Narantara, I heard you gave a 2-hour class on Bhaja Hure Mana. What is this? So I felt very good that even he heard about it. One of his disciples told him. I felt very good. So Bhaja Hure Mana, the song begins, but my dear mind, let us cooperate together and be fixed at the lotus feet of Krishna. Bhaja Hure Mana Sri Nandanandana. Sri Nandanandana can only mean Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj. Abide. And what is the result? If your mind is fixed on the lotus feet of Krishna, abide. You become fearless. Fear is one of the main characteristics of material existence. We're afraid because in the back of our minds, we know death may come at any time. Right now, here in California, not only do we have the coronavirus, not only do we always have the threat of a big earthquake, now there are so many wildfires. And people are being evacuated in California. I'm okay. The fires are in Northern California. But fear is there. That's the nature of this material world. We're fearful. The whole world is fearful of this Vasudev COVID-19 virus. You saying that Panama is top of the list? No, America is top of the list. And it's not getting any better. So everybody's afraid. But if your mind is fixed on Krishna, you'll become fearless. So that's a very important thing to learn. Fearless at the lotus feet of Krishna. That's why we emphasize Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That will make you fearless. Now, the next series of verses is scientific. You can learn a lot from these two verses. While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them. And from such attachment, lust develops. And from lust, anger arises. So it's cause and effect sequence. Where does it begin? Contemplating the objects of the senses. That's why these advertising companies, when they make their TV ads or magazine ads, they make it as attractive as possible. Why? Because intuitively they know this verse of Bhagavad Gita. They make that advertisement so attractive, you contemplate it. And by contemplating, I must have it. Like Ravana, when he heard about Sita from Shurpanakha, his sister, and she described how Sita looked, he immediately became attached. Immediately. Or Rukmini, when she heard from Narada Muni about Krishna, just by hearing that description of Krishna, Rukmini decided, if it takes 100 births, I'm going to get Krishna as my husband. So these advertising firms make that ad, that commercial so attractive, your mind just goes, zoop. You become attached, and what happens from attachment? Lust. So Ravana heard about Sita and he said, yes, I must have her. But now, looks what happens. After you chase lust, anger arises. Why? Because you can never be satisfied with lust. Lust means trying to enjoy the senses independently of Krishna. That's lust. Trying to enjoy the senses separate and independent of Krishna. But the problem is, and we will learn this in chapter 3, Krishna certifies that if you go after lust, you must become frustrated. Why? Because we'll learn in chapter 3, which means next week, I think we'll cover the whole chapter, that lust is never to be satisfied, and so it burns like fire. I have a song I sometimes sing. Don't play with Maya, because you're playing with fire. So lust is like a blazing fire that can never be extinguished. It burns. And in that song there's a line, burn baby, burn baby, burn. Anyone who's had that experience, I had, before becoming a devotee, I had that experience many times. Chasing lusty desires and simply becoming frustrated and angry. And from anger, complete delusion arises. And from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. And when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. It all began with meditating on one of the objects of the senses and going after it. But if you fix your mind on Krishna, then you are saved from this downward spiral. You are delivered. But a person free from all attachment and aversion and is able to control the senses through regulative principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord. So these regulative principles of freedom are there in every religion. Every religion has their principles of freedom. And our Vedic scriptures are the most refined and the most complete in explaining the regulative principles of freedom. When you become an initiated disciple in ISKCON, you have 4 regulative principles of freedom. No eating of meat, fish, and eggs. Onions and garlic also. No gambling. No sex outside of marriage, outside of procreation. No intoxication. These are the 4 regulative principles of freedom. Before becoming a devotee, I didn't do gambling, but the other 3, I did too much. I did all of them. But joining Krishna consciousness, I practice these regulative principles of freedom. I'm so happy. So happy. I'll not go back. No, because I have the higher taste. And when you follow these regulative principles of freedom, you can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord. I don't know if you know this story, but many, many years ago, one time, I went to Panama. And I can't remember his name, but this person had a whole floor for him and his family. Top penthouse, the whole floor. And one day I did a program there, and some of his relatives had come from Hong Kong. So obviously they were Sindhis. And I did the program, Krishna Consciousness. And so the rich lady from Singapore said, Swamiji, how can I have peace in my life? Can you give me peace? She was thinking I had a magic wand and I would give her peace. I said, my dear such and such, do you eat meat? Oh, I love meat. I said, can't give you peace. So then I said, do you drink alcohol? Oh, yes. I like to drink alcohol. I said, I can't give you peace. And then I said, do you gamble? I said, oh, we have so much fun gambling. I said, 3 strikes, you're out. I can't give you peace. Because you're doing the very things that will prevent you from being peaceful. If you want to be peaceful, you have to follow these regulative principles of freedom. Let's continue. For one thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence no longer exist. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established. So what are the threefold miseries? Threefold miseries. Our own bodies and mind cause us suffering. We all know this. Toothache, headache, backache, and all of us were getting older every day. I'm now 70 years old. I look in the mirror. This beautiful body is dwindling, dwindling, dwindling. And every day there's a new ache or pain. You young people here, you think, what is this guy talking about? Because you're young, you have all this energy, you can run, you can jump. Just wait. Before you know it, you'll be 40. Yes, that happened to me. One day I woke up, I'm 40? What happened? And now I'm 70. It happens in a flash, like that. So our own bodies, what to speak of our mind, causes us problems, miseries. Another miseries. Other living entities, insects, mosquitoes, flies, snakes, your neighbors, maybe they cause you misery. Maybe you go to a job and you can't get along with a certain coworker. So other living beings, they also cause misery. And then, we're all experiencing it now. Miseries caused by the demigods, pestilence, the wildfires, the COVID. These are all sent by supernatural causes. But then, I have found a fourth misery. So in Sanskrit, adhyatmic, body and mind, adibautic, other living entities, and adidaivic, caused by the demigods, supernatural powers. But then I found a fourth one, aditechnic. Technology itself can cause disturbance and suffering. At any moment, the internet goes out. Right? We're so dependent on technology. Another incident, many years ago, I did a program in Panama. I can't remember the name. But we were doing the program, and in the middle of the program, all the electricity went out. So we did the rest of the program by candlelight. But it showed us how attached we are to technology. Everything is governed by technology. We're so dependent. I was just thinking the other day how this iPhone, right? It's with me constantly. But 20, 30 years ago, I didn't have an iPhone. Was I starving? Was I any less happy? No. But now this cell phone sometimes can also cause misery. One who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? So if you want to be happy, first you have to be peaceful. And peacefulness comes, that's the mind. Peace is the mind. And already it has been stated, you want to be peaceful, fix the mind on Krishna. As a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, Even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence. Again, be careful. Even one of the senses not being engaged can drag you away. Therefore, O mighty armed Arjuna, one whose senses are restrained from their objects is certainly of steady intelligence. What is night for all beings is the time of an awakening for the self-controlled. And the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. So a true follower of Bhagavad Gita is not like the ordinary person. He is just the opposite. We find our happiness through engaging in spiritual activities. They are interested in going to nightclubs and dancing and partying, but no, not going to waste my time there. I'm going to go to bed early, get up early, and begin my spiritual practice. On the weekends, people are staying up to 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, partying. But a transcendentalist, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Just the opposite. A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still. Such a person can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. So many times Ravana was advised by his ministers, by his well-wishers, give up this attachment for Sita and be happy. Ravana had so many wives, and even his favorite wife, Mandodari, was so beautiful. And apart from that, he had so many other wives every night. So he was being advised, you have so many women, but you're going to lose it all simply by attachment to this Sita. He was warned repeatedly by his brother Vibhishan, by so many people, but he would not listen. So here Krishna is telling us how to achieve peace. Don't give in to material desires. Let them go. Desires are going to come one after another, like the waves of an ocean. Don't chase them. Stay fixed in Krishna. A person who has given up all desires for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship, and is devoid of false ego, can alone attain real peace. So don't chase after sense gratification. Be free from material desires. And devoid of false ego, yes, always see yourself as the eternal servant of Krishna. Then you can achieve real peace. That is the way of the spiritual and godly life. So this section of chapter 2, Krishna is saying this is the spiritual and godly life, after attaining which a man is not bewildered. If one is thus situated, even at the hour of death, one can enter into the kingdom of God. So yes, that is our goal, to enter the kingdom of God. So you have to practice this path of transcendence. Simple path is just every day chant the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everything will follow if you engage in this chanting of the Maha Mantra. Everything will follow. Namaste Narasimhaya. Prahlada Klada Dayane. Hiranya Kashipura Bhaksha. Shilatanka Nakalaye. Ito Nrsimha Parato Nrsimha. Yato Yato Yamitato Nrsimha. Bahir Nrsimha Hridaye Nrsimha. Nrsimham Adim Sharanam Prapadye. Nrsimham Adim Sharanam Prapadye. Tavakara Kamala Vare Nakam Adbhuta Sringam. Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringam. Keshavadvita Narahadi Rupa. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Keshavadvita Narahadi Rupa. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadish. Jai Jagadish. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, before we go to the questions, I just got a text message from Krishna in my heart. And I think Sri Lesh is going to like it. That text message is, after today, everyone should study chapter 3, so that next week when we have class, two things will happen. The subject matter will be more fresh in your mind, and because you went through the chapter a week ahead, you might come up with questions. So that's my assignment. Starting tomorrow, everyone should start reading Bhagavad Gita as it is by Prabhupada and read chapter 3 so that when we have class next week, you'll be fired up. Before we do the questions, I would like to give you all a blessing. So I ask you to fold your hands over your heart. My dear Lord Krishna, bless these devotees of Cologne and give them transcendental peace. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.